In this video, you'll learn about protecting your WordPress sites with an additional layer of monitoring and security settings using plugins. We'll open the live site we've been working on in previous chapters and add 2 different plugins to manage your options for security within WordPress, including locking down the login page, hiding the admin area, and using two-factor authentication, which is stronger than usernames and passwords. By the end of this lesson, you'll have added several layers of security to your WordPress installation, and you'll have several free security plugins to explore and choose from. Let's start by opening up our WordPress dashboard and website that we've been working on in the previous chapter. Mine is at gregdavis.com/MailChimp. As you remember, we set up the MailChimp bulk and marketing email program with this website, and then we converted it into a WooCommerce store. Go ahead and pause the video now and open up your live website in your browser. The first thing I want to check out with you is how we access the login page and the administration area, or the dashboard, inside of WordPress. My setup has the default sidebar widgets set up on my sidebar here, and one of the sidebar widgets, called Meta, has a login link right here. If I roll over that login link and look at the bottom left-hand side of my screen in Firefox, I can see that's accessing a page called wp-login.php. That's one way to access the login page, and it will redirect us to the /wp admin folder, which is our WordPress dashboard and administration area. It's common knowledge that WordPress sites generally use the wp-login.php page and the wp-admin folder for their dashboard areas. Because anyone, including hackers and computer-based bots, can access these login pages, it's important that you keep a very secure password and avoid using the admin username, which is the old default username in WordPress. WordPress now allows you to choose a secure password, and some of the security plugins we'll be experimenting with can allow you to force secure passwords on your WordPress users. Now, put yourself in the place of a hacker. If you came to this site and you wanted to try and guess the login for someone's site, you might try that admin username at first, but what if you wanted to try and guess someone's username? You could go to Lost Your Password. We have a special WooCommerce store lost password page built into our theme right here in the storefront theme. But if I place any kind of a username or email address here and then click Reset Password, I should get an error message. Now, this error message tells me that that is not a valid username inside of this account. So if you had a computer-based bot that was going to login pages all over the internet trying the admin username until they found it to be valid, that bot could return to that login page and try and guess the password of that website. So a simple way to tighten up security would be to limit the display of error messages here in the login page. This type of login credential is called one-step authentication, or one-factor authentication, where the username and password is checking one thing from the user. It's something that you know, the username and the password. Two-step authentication, or also known as two-factor authentication, checks 2 out of 3 possible factors in the user before it allows them into the admin area or dashboard of the website. Something you are is potentially your voice print, DNA, a retina scan. Fingerprints is the most popular thing, which is something you are. And the Touch ID system on iPhones using your fingerprint is a something you are authentication method. If we're going to be setting up two-factor authentication for getting into a WordPress site, we'd be setting up 2 out of these 3 items. Something you know, which is a username and password, combined with something you have, which might be your smartphone. One of the most convenient ways to harden up the security of your login in WordPress is to use two-factor authentication with something you have, which is most likely a smartphone or even an email address. Plugins for two-step authentication are freely available in the WordPress plugin repository, and one of the free security plugins we'll be looking at in this video, called WordFence, offers two-step authentication within their free version. We'll also be installing Clef, a very interesting two-factor authentication plugin, and experimenting with how it works. So let's go back to the login page of our WordPress dashboard and log in ourselves, and we'll start looking at the free plugins available to harden the security of our WordPress installation. If you go to Plugins and Add New, we're going to be searching for a couple of different plugins. The first one is called iThemes Security. If we look at iThemes Security, formerly known as BetterWP Security, iThemes is a great company that comes out with themes, security plugins, and backup plugins. And if you install iThemes Security and go ahead and activate it, we can check out all the features and the benefits of using a plugin like this. A good way to start with iThemes Security is just to go down and click the Settings button here on the Plugins page, and they direct you to their first modal window that pops up called the Security Check. So if you just click Secure Site, it'll go and look at what is enabled, and it will enable the most recommended parts of iThemes Security. Now, one of the great things about the iThemes Security Network is they have this network brute force protection where they have known IP addresses and country codes that always do brute force attacks, and they'll block them before they're even able to reach your site and slow it down. And so I already do have an account with their network brute force protection with my email address, and I'll just click Activate Network Brute Force Protection right there. And then if I close this window, now I'm looking at the iThemes Security settings page, and I can look at all the different items that they use for security. Go ahead and follow along with the setup I'm recommending here. First thing I might do is just close their little notification tab there, and I like to look at these in a list, and I like to look at all of the different security items that they have in iThemes Security, all in a list here, and you can see what's enabled where it says configure settings and what is not. What I'll usually do is go through a few of these that I always use on websites, and I'll leave the others alone. The security check's been done. The global settings let me look at notification email addresses so that if I go into my email, you can see that I'll get a notification message when a certain IP has been locked out of the WordPress site due to whatever they did that iThemes Security has blocked. It makes me comfortable that this host has now been locked out permanently because they went and they did too many bad things. And then down here, the default is that when they're locked out 3 times within a certain time, they get locked out permanently. And what I always set here is that my current IP from my home computer is on the whitelist, so I can't be locked out myself by forgetting my password or something like that. So now I'll click Save Settings, and now when I'm working on my home computer, I can never be locked out of my own site because my IP address is on the whitelist. I want to set up 404 detection. 404 is just a page not found, and I'll enable that. And then if you look at the configuration of the settings, it just gives you a standard, looks back if there's more than 20 errors within a 5-minute period, then it locks out that IP address. And so that's a good thing to have because you'll have bots coming to your site, using up your bandwidth, costing you more money by looking for ways to exploit your website. There's a whole bunch of other settings right here. I usually set up banned users, local brute force protection. You can see that by doing that security check, it's already enabled these. And then go down and let's look at hide the backend. Now this is a good way for you to offer an easy way for your clients, if they're going to be logging into their WordPress dashboard, to remember the login page. You can set it up with something like /WP login. Oftentimes I'll use the word dashboard, or access is a good one for people to remember. And basically it hides the WP-login and the WP admin areas. And so it just makes it harder for those bots to find those errors. Sometimes I'll leave this alone until my site keeps getting these notification emails over and over and over again that I'm getting a constant barrage on my WP admin and my WP login page, and then I'll go and hide the backend, and that stops these attacks. So back inside of the iThemes security settings, the last thing I might set up is strong password enforcement, and then the other things I usually leave the same. One of the things I'll do under the global settings is make sure that write to files is allowed. That way I don't have to copy and paste the security rules that iThemes needs to put in my htaccess files. There's a lot to know about internal WordPress security, and you can read more at the iThemes security plugin page itself, where they do have a paid pro features version where you can get a whole lot more. I usually use the free version for all my client sites. And let's look at WordFence, which is a second version of a WordPress security plugin. One of the great things about WordFence is that it does include two-factor authentication in the free version. And WordFence also has this great WordPress security learning center as a part of their website. This is a great thing to keep up with for the latest WordPress security news. They put out great blog posts, and they actually track when certain plugins or themes have security holes. So they really keep up with WordPress security in the modern world. Lastly, let's take a look at a two-factor authentication plugin. This Clef two-factor authentication plugin is really pretty neat, and it works very well, and it's super easy to use. Your clients might appreciate logging in with Clef instead of having to remember their usernames and passwords. So let's go back into our website dashboard, and let's go to Plugins and Add New, and let's install the Clef two-factor authentication plugin. So just type Clef in the search bar there, and here's Clef two-factor authentication. I'm installing it here, and now I can activate it. Great. Now if I just click Finish Setup, it'll help me to get set up so that I can use my smartphone to log in to WordPress. You can see in this little graphic the way that it works. You just line up your camera's phone on the screen, and it matches the little barcode that's there. So I'll start out just by authorizing my own phone number, and I'll click Download. And now I'm opening up my smartphone, and it looks like with that beep I've received a text message, and then here's a link to download the app. I'll pause the video while I do that. And now I've opened Clef, and I'm just holding my phone's camera and matching up the little Clef wave. And there, my phone beeped and my website responded, and I'll just click Continue to confirm. And now I just need to click which website address is there in my browser. All right, so it's setting me up. It says I'm all good, and I've successfully connected my account with Clef. So then I can invite other users if I want to, but I don't need to do that at this point. And there's one thing that I'd recommend you do when using Clef. You'd want to set up a separate URL just in case you drop your phone in the ocean or something like that and you need to get into your website. So I'll just click Got It here, and you can see that Clef is giving me a little message down here on the menu bar, Needs Setup. Now you can leave it set up this way, where you're showing the Clef Wave as the primary login option, but you can then click Login with a password in this little link right here on the login form. Now, more secure is to disable passwords for Clef users, and then you can see down below it showed an override URL. Now, it's a good idea to set up this override URL so that in case you lose your phone or something like that, you can go to that URL and log in with your username and password anyway. You just keep that URL safe and secret, and then your website is using two-factor authentication, and it's the most secure. They give you an easy way to generate a secure override URL, just a random code here. And then they show you how you can take the URL for your store and drag this button up to the bookmarks toolbar of your website. And this is in another tab on my website. But you can see that now that I've placed this URL here in the address bar, it gives me the login username and password area as well as the Clef login button. If I didn't have that override URL there and I went to the login page, the only thing that's shown is my Clef wave right here. And I'm already logged in, so it's not showing it to me. I can log into the WooCommerce store website just by clicking that button. But now the great thing is if I walk away from a computer, and maybe it's a public computer, and I've been logged in and I forgot to log out, I can just open up my phone here, go to the Clef app, and this is what I'm doing right now as I'm speaking to you, and I can click Log Out Now. I just hit the Log Out Now button, and now the website should respond. If I hit another button inside of the website, you can see that it's logged out and it goes back to the Clef login screen. In this lesson, you set up your live website with WordPress level security by using a free plugin from the WordPress plugin repository, iThemes Security. It's not the only option, so explore which security systems you like and install them on each of your WordPress websites. You also installed a two-factor authentication plugin and set it up to strengthen your login page security. In the next video, we'll set up automatic backup systems inside of WordPress so that we can have more than one automatic backup happening all the time. Even though your website hosting company should be keeping backups for you, it's important to save your own secondary backup files in a separate location in case you can't access the host's files for some reason.